So welcome to the Herbalist Lounge. Herbalist Lounge July. July in the peak of the summer. So you know how we do. And just in case, this is not a class. This is definitely a cipher. We come together to share our information and our experiences. But we do ask that you mute your mic when you're not speaking, just to eliminate the background noise. And also, we also want to let you know, like Asia just said, I want to reiterate the lounge is recorded and shared on other social media platforms. So just FYI there, okay? All right. So as far as discussion length, you know how it goes. It's usually on average about an hour, give or take. It just depends on how the bill goes, how the cipher is, and where we take it. Okay. All right. And then we have our lovely co-host on here. Myself is Martina. And we also have
Hey, y'all, this is Asia again. So glad that y'all are here.
and we have our other spice sister. I'm not sure what to talk. You there, Lanita?
I am here. My sound is fading in and out, but I am here in hot Northeast Texas.
Woo-hoo.
All right, let's go. And I'm calling in from Florida, just FYI, just in case you didn't know, because it can switch up.
Oh, yeah. I'm calling from Illinois, Southern Illinois at that.
Nice. And we got Clarissa, Covington, Georgia. So you said 30 to 35 miles southeast of downtown Atlanta. Okay, so you right up top. You right up top, Clarissa. My people's up top.
Yeah.
All right. How we doing, Asia? We good with the slides?
We good. Are you able to see them?
Yes, we are. We are good.
All right. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. So we have already introduced ourselves. And of course, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to honor our ancestors and our plant sisters, the ones who came before us and made all of these moments possible. We are so grateful for you and thank you for everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ashe, give thanks to the plant ancestors and the fungi buddies.
All of them.
All of them. Ooh, all right, y'all. So tonight's topic is foraging. But real quick, before we dive in, what are we feeling right now? I want to know what your favorite foraging spots are, but are you guys sipping on anything in particular this evening? I actually just stepped over into my kitchen. I'll share real quick. I decided, since we're talking about foraging, I just recently foraged some elderberries from family land, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just do straight elderberry because this is what I just recently foraged. Usually I'll put a little bit of this and like cloves and cinnamon and different things, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna do straight elderberry with some local honey. And then I changed my mind and threw some ginger root in there, so I'm about to strain it real quick and enjoy this. So that's what I'm sipping on, and I did forage it, so that's makes it extra special for me. All right, I'm gonna pass the mic. Anyone else want to go next?
Hey, I'm sipping on some cucumber mint water. Nice, refreshing, just ooh. So, and I did forage the mint out of my front yard. The cucumber, I kind of got that at the store, but the mint was fresh out my yard.
Nice. Oh, ain't nothing like some fresh mint out the yard. That's wonderful. All right. I'm not, so I'm sipping on some water. That's what I'm sipping on right now. But y'all too, especially Martina and Lanita, y'all know I've been talking about chicory. So chicory is the plant that is just calling to me. It is blooming out here. It is thriving out here right now in Southern Illinois. So it's pretty pale blue and sometimes light purple flowers, definitely calling to me. And sometimes we don't have to like ingest an herb with our mouth or our nose. There are other senses as well. that we can use to connect with the plant. And so definitely my eyes and my spirit has been connecting with chicory, and it has been giving me so much peace to see it just so abundant and on the roadside and helping to clean the air. And if we were to ingest it, of course, to help to clean the body and to give us peace as well too. So chicory is that one. Peace, Kiana. Kiana says, been sipping on home pressed cider and basil. That sounds so good, Kiana, and welcome. We're so glad to see you here.
Yeah, we are glad to see you here, and that sounds delicious. All of this sounds delicious. Cider, fresh home pressed cider with basil, fresh mint from the yard. Asia's over here having a love affair with a bitter plant ally. Is this really what I'm hearing right now? I love it. Yes.
Don't tell nobody.
I'm telling the whole world. Y'all hear that? Asia and the bitters. Yes. We finally can be friends. Now let me stop. I love it.
Too funny.
All right.
What else? And like I said, it could just be a plant that you connected with if you're not sipping on it right now or ingesting it.
Ooh, Clarissa says ginger and local honey. My ginger came from the Indian reservation in Cherokee, North Carolina. Oh, wow. That sounds super smooth. Mm.
Yeah, it's nice. It's probably about 3.5 hours from here. It's so beautiful. And then you just soon as you drive into Cherokee, it's this shop called the Medicine Man. And there's so many different herbs there. And I bought the ginger. Every time I go, I just load up and I get my local honey from this small little fruit stand near my house and blend it with the local honey. And because my throat's been a little scratchy, and it just works wonders. It's a nice warming herb, as you all know.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I love that.
You're welcome.
And speaking of honeys, if you see this picture here, y'all, it's a throwback. It's a picture in on my family's land, and there's a lot of different plants and trees that grow there, a lot of allies. And the one that is in that picture are the bitter oranges. So in this, it's a honey, a local honey. So as you can see, I chopped up like some red onions and some different types of, limes and the bitter oranges, and I strained it to use it to make herbal syrups and whatnot. So yeah, there's so many different things to mix and put together and synergize. I love it. All right. If anyone else has anything they would like to share as far as what they're sipping on, let us know. And go ahead and feel free to start. Let's start talking about this foraging. What are some spots nearby or plants from your area that are kind of like some of your favorite allies, even if it's just something that you're eyeballing, not necessarily foraging to use as medicine or food, but maybe just for companionship or all of the above. I know we have a lot of different areas covered here, so.
I know some people, they're like, I don't want to give up my foraging spots.
Try to give up foraging spots and all. We just want to know what you're foraging on now.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, since I just moved to Illinois, I'm still finding out the good foraging spots, but definitely when I was in Cali in the Bay Area, there were all kind of trails that we would go on and find all kinds of dill and poppies, depending on the time of year. There was all kind of stuff, but definitely I remember harvesting those two in particular. So Bay Area was full of it, and it was lovely.
Nice. Well, down here. Oh, go ahead, Lanita.
So I started my foraging journey because my lawnmower was broke, and When the lawnmower broke, we got a whole bunch of wildflowers and weeds or volunteers that I had never seen before because we always kept the yard so manicured. So once I had all of this stuff growing, I had to figure out what it was. And once I started identifying the plants, I found out there was so much medicine and so many cool things just growing in the yard. So from then on, now I manicure the spots where I have to walk, but the other areas, I still let some areas grow wild in the yard because every time something new pops up that I haven't seen before.
Nice. I love that. I love that, Lanita. And it looks like in the chat we have a few comments here. So Zuli, peace, Zuli. Welcome to the Herbalist Lounge. It's good to have your energy here with us. Yes. Zuli says amaranth, miners, lettuce, turkey tail, chicken of the woods, depending on the season. Word, right? Depending on the season. Kiana says horse apple, hedge apple, Osage orange. Kiana, you sound like Lanita over here. Those are some awesome allies. And peace, Zora, peace. Yeah, yummy. Right now for me, at this moment, elderberry is just so abundant on the family land and just really abundant all around Central Florida where I'm at. I'm more in the South Central location of Florida, but Florida's a very unique, special place. You see all kinds of stuff. Like if I'm in North Florida, it's a whole different climate, and the plants that I will see will differ completely from the plants you will see like when you go more so south, you know. But some of my favorites are the sea grapes, which aren't really grapes. And with sea grapes, they have like grape-like fruits. They're edible. And I learned about this actually not through interest in foraging, but like kind of what Asia was saying, just going on walks and getting to know the plants, and 99% of the time when I'm out and about, it in the beginning, especially, it really wasn't even about foraging. It was just really about exploring and getting to know what's around. And then after that, it's like, oh, this is what it can be used for. Or, oh, this is what's good for as well. But what it's doing for the environment was really interesting to me as well, and how it was connected to everything else. So I can actually forage in an appropriate way. And with sea grapes, it's illegal here in Florida for you to forage it. And it's important to know those types of things because it's very important for the coastal communities. And, it can detriment the soil that we have on the coastal plains and stuff. So, but the beautiful thing is sea grape, although it's abundant on the coast, you can grow this like in your own area. It grows very well here. So yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. That's very intriguing. And they look similar to the muscadine grapes. So they also have a lot of muscadine grapes out here all over the place right now. So just a couple favorites. All right. So anybody else have anything that that they are foraging, or some of their favorite plants? Or let's see. Oh my gosh, yeah. So Asia says it's so exciting finding plants that I've read about or saw online. Oh my goodness. Anyone ever have that moment when you're out and about and you see a plant for the first time and you know exactly what it is, but you're like, oh my gosh, it's you, I know that feeling, Asia.
Yeah, it's like being Beyonce or something. Like last summer I saw goldenrod and I was like, yo, this is it. Yeah. Oh,
That was me in chicory when I was up like the Northeast, Asia. Like chicory is so abundant, right? You see it on the roadsides, on the country. You see it everywhere. And I first saw it, I'm like, yo, that is chicory. I went crazy, like, and it gets real because sometimes you're like on the highway and stuff, driving, 60 miles per hour, scaring people. But yeah.
I had a passion flower show up at my place one summer. Haven't had it since, but I was just ecstatic to see that passion flower.
Yeah, passion flower is another beautiful plant ally that grows out here in Florida. That is a foraging favorite, and then just a favorite in general. Is so they're so passion flowers are so beautiful. And Lanita also says creeping cucumbers. Oh yes, that's delicious. Hmm. All right. So, what are some of our? Do we have any questions about foraging? I want to know from the community. Um, what are our thoughts on foraging? Do we forage right now? Is it something that we would like to do more of? Something where we want to start exploring more?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always down for learning even more about foraging, because there's so much available out there that we pass by every day, and we might not know that it is a viable food source, or something that can be used for healing, or, something that can help other plants grow, or, just anything that we could. Build with. So yeah, always want to learn more.
Most definitely. I think that's another reason why we hit this topic
Mhm.
at least once a year, because it's like, yo, what's going on? What are we foraging on? And Zora says I used to have a neighbor who grew pomegranate, and I was enamored with the flowers and the fruit. Yes. And I want to learn too, Clarissa. Yes. So let's dive into this a little deeper. When it comes to foraging, what are some of the things that we keep in mind? Asia, I know you have a little experience. Lanita, you have a little experience. People on here have a little experience. Do you all go out and about like in new places? Are there things that you keep in mind, or how do you guys navigate that?
Yeah, most definitely. Like for me, because I'm always in different locations, depending on the day sometimes at this point. But it's like, I'm very observant of the land, where I am. And, I think about, just like the different elements, everything that's happening. Also like the history, kind of like what we've been talking about, what's going on presently. And then like I tap into all of my senses when it comes to that. So how does it feel? How does it smell? How does it taste? Even, and then I also want to be aware of, what else is inhabiting the land? What other type of living beings are inhabiting the land? So yesterday I went out to venture, because there's a set of woods behind where I live right now. And I was just like, okay, so, I know that there are raccoons and squirrels and rabbits. There probably means that there's snakes and, other living beings and the birds. So it's like I want to be respectful of all of those things. So I watch where I'm walking. I um, pay attention to what I'm wearing, before I go anywhere, and running up into anything because it's a new environment. But those are some of the things that I kind of start off with when foraging. Before I even go out, it's like thinking about all these things.
I love that.
I personally like eye foraging. By that, I mean, I travel a lot. And when I'm traveling, even just riding down the roads, no matter what kind of vehicle I'm in, I want to see if I can identify the plants or see if they have some of the same plants growing there that I have growing near me. And then seeing them is good enough for me to understand um, how the people there used it. A lot of times plants, the same plant can be used differently in different regions of the country historically. So, I'm looking up the plants and seeing how they were used in that area, just finding out more information. It kind of just increases my library of how I can use the plants differently, whether it's food, whether it's medicine, whether it's dyeing of fabrics, whether it's topical use or something, just like as kids, we used to throw crab apples at each other. We would look for crab apples just so we could put them in the pea shooter and shoot them at each other. So foraging is not always capturing something to use it. Sometimes, you just increasing your knowledge or observing what grows in different regions in different countries that, you may have the same thing at home, but they may use it completely different.
Love it. I like it. Eye foraging. That's definitely something that is a part of the journey, right? It's definitely led me down a lot of different, I want to call them rabbit holes. I'm gonna keep it real. But it's such a learning process, and it's so beautiful, like what Lanita was just saying. You go out there, you start to get to know plants, observing plants seasonally. That's huge with identification for me, especially with certain plants, which is huge. A lot of plants have poisonous lookalikes. So even if you learn like from a book or from a guide or a person who's been foraging and knows the plant's morphology, etc., for me it's still like, okay, I know that I'm IDing this properly, but let me build a relationship with this before I really start using it for medicine, before I start foraging it, using it for food, dyeing fabric, etc. But when you get to watch the plants through those seasons, you learn so much about them, and you see the changes, and you do get a closer bond, and your confidence just grows, and then there's so much to learn because you can go to different areas, and one plant, it can be the same species of plant, but they look completely different. And then that started making me think about, wow, how does climate affect the plant cycles, and just going down that rabbit hole of the environment. And like what Asia was saying, everything that's in the whole web of life out there and in there. And when you're entering, having that respect, just on how you smell, what you're wearing, how you move, So I like all of these things. These are definitely on point and resonating with me.
Hey, Clarissa says she likes to dye fabrics too. Clarissa, we just did some black-eyed Susan. I'm curious, what are some of the plants that you use as vegetable dye to dye with?
I've just done the hibiscus before.
The leaves or the flowers?
The leaves.
What color did it come out?
It was like a off burgundy-ish color, kind of fade into pink color.
Oh, okay.
Which one did you have, Clarissa? Was it the cranberry hibiscus with the red foliage?
Oh, which one? I have to look. It did look more deeper red. It was like a deeper red color. The burgundy, yeah, you mean it was like burgundy cranberry color? Yeah.
I'm asking you, Clarissa, because I got a ton of hibiscus growing right now, and all my leaves are green, but I've tried dyeing with the flowers, and I was very disappointed because the flowers, when you dye with them, it comes out purple, blue, black, and don't come out nothing as pretty as the flowers. So the leaves, it makes sense if the leaves would give you a different color. So thanks for that. I'm going to try my green leaves and see maybe if I can at least get a pink. It would be better than that color you get from the flowers.
Yes, it sounded like it went real deep. Yeah.
Speaking of plant dyes, Lanita, we were just talking about this the other day. Can you share about what to add in a plant dye briefly?
Yeah. So we were experimenting with the black-eyed Susan, and there's a thing called mordant. A mordant opens the fabric up, opens the fabric to accept the dye better. So we tried one with a mordant and one without a mordant. And the mordant is a metal salt. So they, suggested like powdered alum. There was another one that we didn't have, and I didn't have that. It was aluminum, which is the powdered alum, chrome, or something else that's toxic. I didn't have any of those, but I had some Epsom salt. Well, that's a metal, magnesium, and salt. So we soaked the yarn the night before in the Epsom salt, and we dyed the next day in the plant dye. That took the dye beautifully. And then we tried it with fabric. Oh, well, I'll get back to that. Another one that we used, we did not do a mordant. We just took the fabric, white fabric, and put it in the dye bath. And it changed the color, but very slightly, not as big as the difference that you could see when we use the mordant. So another type of mordant that you can use is soy milk. And the soy milk, what it does, it just helps the fabric. It helps the fabric accept it, but they say that when you wash it, you may lose the color. It doesn't, absorb into the fabric. It just bonds the dye to the fabric. So the best is actually the aluminum salt. I mean, the metal salt, which could be aluminum, which is powdered alum, or chrome, or whatever the third one is. But the Epsom salt actually worked. So I would say magnesium salt is a good mordant too.
Thank you for sharing that, Lanita. That was some really good information.
Oh, and different parts of the plants give different colors too. So leaves, roots, flowers, you can get a different color from every part of it, or you combine them all together and bind and get one color. So that's why I was really interested what Clarissa said about her plant. And I have the hibiscus leaves. I didn't try the leaves. Of course, the flowers are so colorful. You want to do the flowers, but I'm going to try the leaves and see if we can get a nice color off of those too.
I've done the hibiscus, Lanita, but it's the cranberry hibiscus with the red foliage. So I did the leaves with that. I did a cotton yarn, and it took very well. It came out like a lighter, like a light pink, but it was a nice color.
Oh, that cranberry hibiscus is so pretty.
Yes, and I love it because you can have it all year round here, even when it's not flowering. The leaves, the foliage taste just like the flowers. So. Mm-hmm.
It reminds me, I had forgotten all about this, but there was a time that I used black beans to dye a shirt. And so it didn't come out black, it came out more gray. And then it faded a little bit over time. So it had like that gray blue color, and it wasn't even. So it wasn't necessarily like a tie dye, but definitely, that kind of spotty but cool, still looking pattern on it. So that was pretty cool. But I
did the shirt fart when you finished?
You know what? The students would love that because we in the community garden a couple years ago, the little ones, they love working with the black beans and making a dye out of it. So because we had so many black beans that year. And you know how as the black beans mature, they're actually like a really dark purple. And when they're younger, you can see how purple they are. So the way some of the fabrics came out like a purplish color, while others were kind of similar to what you had, Asia. So.
And then there was another one, turmeric, but that wasn't foraged at all. That was just straight up at the grocery store. But in Hawaii, it was very easy to grow turmeric too. So like probably in your location, Martina, turmeric will grow very easily.
Oh yeah, turmeric, ginger grow very well here. I actually have some ginger right here that's sprouted. Gonna put it down. Not sure when, but in the right time. We're gonna have a conversation about it.
Nice.
I'm curious if anybody forages mushrooms.
Zuli said something about turkey tail if she's still on here. Nope, I don't see her. Maybe we lost her, but yeah, she was on here.
Yeah, mushrooms are amazing. I love mushrooms. That's something where I definitely want to learn a lot more about, especially foraging mushrooms, because there's just so many kinds. But I've been seeing so many amazing different types of mushrooms, y'all. Oh my goodness. I was recently in New York, and I was in the Bronx. I was in, which park was it? It was Van Cortlandt Park. Learning a lot about, I'm going on a nature walk. And when I'm going on a nature walk, I'm not even foraging, I knew I was only going to be there for a few days, but I was really just wanting to build with the plant allies and see if some of my original back in the day allies were there, which I did see them, such as jewelweed, which is known as an antidote for one of Lanita's favorite plants, poison ivy. But I see all the old school plant homies, because I used to, when I lived in the Bronx, this was one of my early learning grounds. Jewelweed. You got the poke coming up. One of Asia's favorite, sassafras, with those beautiful mitten leaves. But I saw some amazing mushrooms, and I mean, these mushrooms were huge. I got some photos, but what Asia said, like, when you go in, you got to be respectful. They were coming out of a log, and although it was a nature walk, it was, it's very wooded, and you got to be very mindful, and respectful. But I use the iNaturalist app to identify, but even then, it's just kind of like I'm going in and I'm studying these different mushrooms that I found, learning a lot more about the mycelium, and learning more about the environment in that region, and even more so the history of that region, from an environmental standpoint and a social standpoint, and everything in between. But yeah, mushrooms excite me, so definitely starting that. But if anyone does forage mushrooms, would love to hear some of your favorites and how you go about identifying them.
I have never seen a soft turkey tail. Every time I see the turkey tails, they are hard as the tree that they're growing in. So maybe if they would give you just a warning when they're going to be good and when they're going to get hard.
So when we're going out foraging, what are some things that we may take with us, or like say, oh, okay, I know I'm going to go foraging if I come across something? What are some maybe tools or different things that you may want to have just to make the process a little easier? My favorite thing to take are baskets. I literally will have baskets in my car, just all the time, or like little paper bags, little scissors and stuff like that. Does anyone have any favorites that they have for foraging or collecting materials?
Yeah, always my shears.
Your shears, good old shears.
Yeah, and definitely some little bags. I have some muslin bags. I have some plastic bags, depending on what I'm trying to get. But I do like to use the muslin bags because a lot of stuff is wet. Um, so then it still allows the herb to breathe without being suffocated.
Mm-hmm. Things to consider foraging. You're going to say something, Lanita? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I learned the hard way. I was in Senegal and I was foraging, and I put everything in plastic bags. Before I even got to the airport, everything was molded. So if you want to know what not to take foraging, plastic bags is it. Always using a cloth bag or a basket is much better. So your plants, because they got that moisture in them.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I have to keep in mind, because sometimes you'll find stuff and you're like, oh my goodness, mulberries, or I'll probably eat those like right there on the spot. But with certain things, like Lanita said, sometimes I have to keep it real with myself and be like, you know what, I'm not going to have time to be respectful to this material and go home and process it and do the things I need to do just because of whatever. And I'm like, you know what, I'll pass and just say hello or just observe or do my eye foraging. But yeah, most definitely. And a lot of times when you forage, just lay it out in a dry, cool place. I give my stuff a nice rinse. Um, and I do like to spread them out in an open place, because a lot of times you'll have little critters on there. Can't get mad at the critters. That's their home. But give them time to go about their business and, just leave. Kind of like that big spider that I found in the paper bag when when I was collecting some hill all seeds with Lanita. Remember that big old spider, Lanita?
Yes.
Yeah, so I had to go ahead and leave it like about 100 meters away from me, and I made sure it escaped after 2 days. Hmm. Yeah, so be mindful, because recently when I was foraging, there was this beautiful spider. Like, it was the thinnest and longest spider. I've never seen a spider like this before. But my daughter was with me and goes, "Mommy, be careful. There's a bug right there and it looks spiky." Sometimes you get so caught in the moment and you're like looking at the leaves or taking a picture or just admiring it or trying to identify or like squatting down to see something. And, just be mindful of your surroundings again, like I said. A big spider, Clarissa. We love our eight-legged friends, but I keep my distance, okay?
You also want to identify the plant. Be sure it is what you think it is before you pick it up, because them rashes and itchy are hard to get rid of. So you think it's one thing and then it's something else that you may be allergic to or maybe poisonous. You just want to be sure of what you're picking before you touch it.
Most definitely good point, because like Lanita said, some of the plants or just fungi or just different things out there, you don't have to ingest it. Just touching it can bring up a really bad rash.
Like somebody handing you a vine and saying, "Can you identify this?"
Mhm.
And then when you identify it, it's poison ivy. And that's a true story. But I was okay. I didn't have to, my body didn't react to the oil because I am one with nature. Now let me stop. I got away. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Gotta love it. But it's a journey. It's a process. Definitely, going with people who may know the area is a great start. Reading books. There's so much information. Like, for example, I'm in Florida, and pretty much I don't want to say every place, but a lot of places have information on common or edible plants or foraging places. Maybe not places, but just things to look out for. And also get to know your invasive species. Some of the invasive species can be edible, and you're doing the environment a favor, right? um that can be a great place to start.
Yeah, definitely. Those are the ones.
No,
Those
no,
are the
no.
ones usually I don't feel bad about picking because it's like, okay, it's when it's an invasive, then I mean it means it's in abundance. And typically like the message that I'm receiving or that I have received is that, I'm in abundance, so you can use me as such. So yeah. And sometimes actually picking it helps to spread it more, but even though that's not what we want to do, but it happens.
Mm.
You ask what to consider when foraging. I think the main thing is what you're going to do with it. You don't want to just pick something just because you say, "Oh, this is cool, I want to have some." You don't want to waste the plant. And then when you are foraging, you say, if you're taking it to make medicine or to eat, you want to pick just what you need. You don't want to pick so much that you end up throwing it away afterwards, because you're wasting nature, and that goes against what we believe in. So make sure you know what you're going to do with it before you pick it.
And also, like, just piggybacking off of the whole respecting, forage what you need. I have seen situations where people will forage excessive amounts of plant, and you know way more than what they need, and it can devastate that the area. It can devastate the whole ecosystem. And that's selfish, especially when you're not using it, you're just using it to make profit, which I'm not knocking anybody, but keep it balanced, be mindful, understand what you're working with. If you're gonna take, give a little bit. So it's not just like free in abundance. Sometimes it can be invasive, but sometimes there's a lot of plants out here that are edible, but certain species I had to learn are more so on the verge of being endangered or extinct. So sometimes it's not even just on a plant level, it's the species levels, and looking into that. And it's not really, I don't want to say it's complicated, it's just love. You go out there for the love of it, building with your surroundings, getting to know the area, you know, and the information will come. Taking a few safety precautions are important, and, you know, going from there. And one thing I do want to say, especially here in Florida, like Florida has, oh my goodness, Florida has so many different plants. We have tropical plants. Up north, it gets cold, it's cooler. So you see a lot of different things. But with that all being said, there's a lot of landscape plants out here. Tourism is huge out here. It's a big destination for people to come all over the world, theme parks, etc. So you see a lot of landscapes. And with that being said, a lot of the areas are pesticide ridden. So, just being mindful of where you're foraging. And that always is a big question. Like, how do I know if it's safe to forage? Is it clean? There's a few rule of thumbs that there's a few rules or just tips that you can use when foraging to make sure you're foraging in a safe environment. And if you're not sure at the end of the day, then don't do it. Just do that eye foraging and being mindful. But whenever you see like perfect grass or like a ring around the grass and it's like yellow and you see a few weeds coming up and everything else is just like gone, and most likely it's there's pesticides. So just being mindful. I love when I see an area and you see like the clovers and the dandelions all popping up, and so being able to just read the signature of the environment.
Also, it depends on when you're foraging, but especially when you're foraging in the fall, remember that some of the animals use that for food. So, like in our area, we have horse apples, and we just found out that horse apples are a food for deer and rabbit. Well, during hunting season, the deer on my property, because we don't kill and the neighbors are all hunting, so the deers are over on our property eating eating horse apples. But if I pick them all up, then they don't have food. And there are also some berries that you see in the wintertime. It's really strange to see the coral berries, and they're so pretty, and you like, oh, I want to get these. But for the birds that are migrating through, those coral berries are their food. So you want to be mindful, like Martina and I both have just said, just take what you need, but leave some because somebody else may need that, or some other animal may need that for food to get through the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how beautiful is it to know that like I'm thinking from the point of plants is like, okay, so I know uh this group of whomever is going to be coming through, and um I'm going to sprout and fruit in the wintertime so that this group of whomever can carry me to different lands and different places, and I can sprout and spread and grow in different areas. I'm just like, oh, that's so nice.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Asia, we just found out that horse apple seeds are not active until they're pooped out. I thought the bodark just grows everywhere. No, it says the squirrels and the deer eat it, and they eat the seeds. And when it goes through their digestive system, that activates the seed. So the seed isn't even active until it's pooped out. So those two help each other. It's food for the animal, but then that animal is also helping to propagate it.
Mm-hmm.
See,
It's like that natural fertilizer.
and I know we're talking about foraging, but we just here goes the rabbit hole. So it's like, in what order did birds come? Like, okay, there were fish, and we know that plants started in the water, but it's like, in what order did the rest of these beings come to help to further spread plants? I'm just like, I'm wondering. Like,
It's all
wow.
a big collaborative dance. So beautiful.
Mhm.
And that's dope because I remember learning about how certain plants, like those mangoes with those big seeds in the middle, how a lot of these plants evolved by they were eaten by like giant sloths and different types of animals that are no longer here today, but they would just swallow it, poop that bad boy out, and boom. Just thinking of some of how, just like you said, how plants have journeyed along and adapted and
Mm.
evolved with us and allowed for our existence.
To forage and other things, of course, but
And other things, of course.
And just FYI for some of y'all that like propagating what you want to forage, if you have any cows close by you, you can feed them psilocybin spores, and then they poop it out, and then the psilocybin grows in the cow patties. I mean, just if you're into that kind of thing.
natural fertilizer. So are they affected? See, I keep going off topic. I'm sorry, y'all. Are they affected by the psilocybin?
No,
No.
they're not, because you're feeding them spores. It's not the active plant.
It
Mm.
might be their stomachs, all those stomachs that they have. It's the right recipe for them to be brewed in those bellies and
Mm-hmm.
out. But down here, you have to be careful because if they're like farm cows, they get
Uh-huh.
certain medication and
Oh, that's true.
it's toxic. So I don't recommend here in this area just because I know that they do give the cows that. But if it's like free range cows or cows that their diet, then that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the days out here, come on now. Yeah. We ain't gonna talk about that, okay? We're not gonna get into that. But anyways, yeah, and the thing is, like, I know we're talking a lot about being mindful and being respectful because that's the foundation, y'all. Plant allies, the environment. It's just as if you would treat somebody, like one of us, another person, a human, whatnot, whatever. We're all living beings, so it's like there has to be respect, and there's so much to learn when you take it from that stance. But with that being said, there's so much abundance out there, so it's not like we're trying to discourage people from doing it. Like, no, we're encouraging people to get to know their environment more, to go out there and forage and find out what these wild edibles are so that they can be utilized. They want to collaborate with us, um so it's very exciting. And Asia, do you mind going to the next slide, because there's some good little points on there on some of the benefits. Oh, we went over tools, the benefits of like foraging, like when it comes to diet and everything. um there it goes. Woo. And that looks so beautiful. Is that a picture from you, Asia?
I think that looks like that would have been a picture from you.
That looks good.
I almost look.
That might be old. I don't know. It looks old school. Anita, help. Um, but just here up on the screen, it's just a little fact that just kind of reiterates it. Yes. 100,000. There are 100,000 edible plants worldwide. Come on, man. And only a fraction of them end up in our grocery stores. So, foraging is cost effective, it's cost efficient, it can be healthy. You can get a lot of those trace minerals and vitamins and nutrients and different all kinds of phytochemicals that you most likely will not find that full spectrum in the grocery store with conventionally grown food. Not to say that it's horrible, but it's a great way to add on to tasting the rainbow.
Yes, diversifying your food source, and building up that immune system. Um, yeah, absolutely. I think that when we're eating our environment, ingesting our environment, giving back as well, but it helps to build up that immune system based on what is around us and not necessarily what might be coming from a completely different area that we don't have to really commune with, like in that space every single day. And of course, this world is getting smaller, and we're uh, in contact with a lot more people, a lot more beings. However, in our daily space every day, I think it's super helpful. So definitely eat those local foods and get that diverse range of food sources.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So there was something else, speaking of just learning and growing through foraging. I noticed, I've always noticed this, and just again recently I was able to see it again, where, being up in New York recently, upstate New York, and also in the city, and then back here in Florida, up along the East Coast, two amazing plant allies, red clover. Well, let's just say three of them: red clover, chicory, and also dandelion. Right, and those are pretty, for the most part, they can be pretty easily identified. Dandelion has a lot of lookalikes in the aster family, right? But there are a few key characteristics that, if you take the time to learn, they're pretty easy to spot, with like the tooth margins, the way the flowers, how many different stems or spikes grow out of the base. But with those three, I noticed, especially with dandelions and clovers, they would be more. What's help me out, Asia? Here, when they were more in Asia, I think you noticed this,
Mm,
they're more prolific. The
mm,
blooms are bigger.
mm,
The leaves are bigger. When I'm in Florida, especially with dandelions, like I don't see a lot of dandelions here. I see them, but they're not as abundant, as you see in the Northeast. So that just led me down to learning a lot more about like dandelion, chicory, and a bunch of other plants, pretty much their growing conditions, and how like some of them prefer longer days, shorter days, or longer days. Like clover, I learned like the longer days that actually um, makes them flower a lot more. So in a place like in New York, they may have that to be able to be more prolific, to be bigger. Out here, where they're exposed to longer growing seasons, they may not necessarily have to be so big and showy to attract the pollinators, because they're pretty much blooming like 3/4, if not more, of the year. So it's just they adapt based on the environment, based on what they need, based on the pollinators, based on just everything in that whole web of life and what's going on. And it affects its morphology, how it looks. Because sometimes you will come across a plant and you're like, wow, that's not what I thought it would look like. And then you find out that there are some variations depending on where you're at. I know people are like, oh, the elderberry, this is when it blooms, this is when it fruits. But out here, we have like 3 or 4 times in the year where the berries and the flowers come. And once again, climate is huge. So
yeah, definitely. Those tropical environments bring out different types of plants, and the morphology is definitely different. So even in Hawaii, it's it was in my experience, it was rare for me to ever see a dandelion, and I only saw one, and it was in my yard. Um, and that's probably, dandelion was probably trying to talk to me or something. But yeah, in those environments, I haven't seen much of that. Um, so yeah.
Someone was saying that they would like to find out about more edible plants. Um, a lot of times, we're looking at all of these botany and herbology books and stuff like that. You may want to look at some history books. And by that, I mean Native American history, some of the things that they traditionally ate, and definitely slave narratives, and books on hoodoo, because a lot of the things that they used in hoodoo are edible greens that are out there that are still growing and that they were foraging. It wasn't like they could go to the grocery store. They grew a lot of their vegetables, but many of the things that they grew to eat and for medicine that they used were foraged. So, yeah, so looking at history can help you with that. Like I said, the slave narratives. I just read a book called Jubilee, by Margaret Walker Alexander. It had nothing to do with herbology, but the lady was a cook in the kitchen. And the women who were the cooks in the kitchen also were the hoodoo medicine women. And so this lady knew the plants to use when her children were sick or when people were sick, how to, take care of indigestion and fevers and things like that. But she also knew which plants she could forage to eat. So that history books can be helpful on that topic.
mhm. Yes, that's a good point, Lanita. Because historically, we have been foraging and collaborating with the land for a long time.
Mhm.
Hmm. Oh yeah. An offering for gratitude. Huge. Look at that beautiful picture. What were you thinking, Asia, when you were looking at those leaves?
Oh, you know what? From what I remember, I was talking to the leaf and, saying my greetings and checking it out. And as you can see, I was flipping it. So, just having a nice conversation and just enjoying the time. Because as you can see, it felt so good to be there. And as a Cancer who loves water, you see the leaves full of water. It probably had just rained again. Probably, I mean, my head is halfway covered, so it probably had just sprinkled or something. But it was nice. And again, just using all of my senses to kind of take in what was happening. It was a wonderful experience. So, and again, giving my gratitude.
Mhm. Awesome.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, this really does cover what a lot of what we had said already. So, when we're interfacing with plants, definitely talk about, asking for permission and talking about your intentions to use and how much you're going to use, and um, you know, and just acknowledging that all of the energy that we're putting back into that and all of our shea that we're putting into that matters too. So, just knowing that our intentions help to make the medicine stronger, right? um and then, of course, leaving an offering. So one of our other herbalist sisters, Sahir Seven, she's like, you can leave hair, you can leave spit, you can leave some of you, but also there's so many offerings that you can leave that are ethical. So, just make sure that you're giving back.
I love that. It can be a prayer. It can
Mm.
be just hanging out over the seasons.
Blood, sweat, tears, or urine also.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But shameless plug here. Y'all check out our Herbalist Lounge YouTube channel. I just did a video about foraging, and I was saying in there, make sure you ask permission, make sure you show gratitude, and make sure you only pick what you need. And so it's nice to see in this slide, me and my Spice sisters, we all on the same page. We thinking and saying the same things.
Hmm. You already know.
Oh, there goes our YouTube channel. I'll leave it on that page because I'm sure we have something else to say.
How's everybody feeling? Does anyone have anything they would like to add, or any questions or anything? How are we feeling about foraging?
I'm ready to go forage some more.
I am too. That's all I want to do tomorrow on my birthday is forage.
Uh,
Every day, please. Yes, feeling good. Yes. Well, I'm excited about everyone going out and foraging, and then, it's continuing this build and continuing growing and sharing. So if you do forage and you're on social media, tag the Herbalist Lounge. We want to see for sure. Okay. Asia, Lanita, do y'all have anything you would like to say before we wrap up?
Nope. We were talking about foraging and food, and I have to tell y'all, I have some great recipes for forage food. So if any of you all are foraging poke salad, curly dock, I think those are the ones that I have. The hibiscus leaves. I have some great recipes that I'm willing to share with you. If that's one of the things that you're foraging, just hit me up, hit us up on Herbalist Lounge, and I'll share those recipes with you.
And remember, recipes go beyond just food preparations, y'all. We're talking about plant dyes, weaving, crafts, hair care. I love okra in my hair. Not to say I'm foraging okra, but let me find out. But yeah, let us.
Yeah, and then we use the hibiscus as hair care, and like you just said, I forgot about the weaving. We're using Johnson grass for making straw mats. So
Yep,
all of that.
all of that. Burning resin, because my ally over here, pine. I'm telling you, you can use the needles to weave. The pine needles are super high in vitamin C. You can you can use it in food, in salads. They have like a nice tangy taste. And then also the resin of pine it smells so divine when you burn it on charcoal versus using like frankincense, or in addition to frankincense, because I love frankincense as well. But you know, a lot of different things you can just do with a few plants, just getting to know them and learning. So I'm looking forward to continuing this build with everybody. Are we ready to talk about upcoming events? Yeah. Does anybody have any upcoming events in the community that they would like to share? If you do, feel free to unmute yourself or put your information down in the chat. Let us know what's going on. We would love to support and share.
And also, definitely share how to contact you. So, like if you're on social media, what have you, please definitely share so we can all connect if we haven't already.
Yes. On all social, well, not all social media handles, but Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, we are at Herbalist Lounge. Okay. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Looks like someone else is excited about foraging too. All right. All righty then. Well, you have something to say. You should have just said it. It's okay. We want to hear from you too. All right. um Also, everyone, we're gonna send the link. Asia, are you able to put the link inside of the chat for us? Go ahead and to sign up for reminders. So we know that the Herbalist Lounge, well, if you don't know, the Herbalist Lounge is every second Monday of the month. And at this time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and all the other times that follow along that. Sorry. But we always share it on the flyer and in the information. So if you would like to have an email reminder, you can go ahead and subscribe to the Herbalist Lounge so that you do have those reminders. Because sometimes, we're not on social media as often, or it may slip our mind. We're not on social media, so we'll put it in your inbox and share some good green fun with you. Yes, the four-legged babies do forage every day, don't they? You can learn a lot from them too. All right, so I think Asia's gonna put it in the chat there for us.
I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second so I can grab the link.
Okie dokie. You can I'll put my info. I would love for you to follow me. I'm Boogie Down Botanicals on Instagram. Then we got Asia. Do you mind if I share your IG, Asia?
Nope, I don't mind.
Okay. And Lanita, do you want me to put yours on there? The Blackland Ranch?
You know I hunt and peck. I was trying to type it in there.
Oh, good. I gotcha. I gotcha. I'm over here typing with my two fingers. You know how I do. I'm fast with my two fingers. All right, I got it right here. Blackland Ranch. All right, that's all three of us right there. And we will also share that herbalist reminder on our pages as well. So right, y'all. Well, it was so good to build with everybody. Next herbalist lounge, I think, is the 14th. Ooh, but remember, it's every second Monday. That's all you got to remember. Every second Monday of the month, keep it simple. We will be building and ciphering and communicating with you on our page. If anything else, and Asia just dropped that link so you can go ahead and subscribe. So you can not just know about the Herbalist Lounge, but any other upcoming offerings or events that we have as well. So looking forward to connecting with everybody.
Most definitely. All right, y'all. So we will see you again on August 14th, the second Monday of the month. And if you missed some of the Herbalist Lounge or you want to go over it again, we'll post it on our YouTube channel as soon as we're able to, and then you can share it. And if you would like to come back and commune with us again, bring a friend, bring a herbalist friend or a herbal curious friend, and we would love to chat with everybody. So thank you for joining us as always, and peace.
Peace, everyone. Thank you.
Peace.